You tell me, since you're one of the advocates, what are they afraid of?
Well, I think you were making a very good point earlier about ISIS and ISIL and the Taliban and the way the world situation is now, and so many Americans becoming radicalized, and as much violence is going on. Everybody has a personal feeling of insecurity or security.
My ISIS is the police. And you know what the county attorney said, Don Klein? If the officer makes a mistake, if he's wrong, but he had reason to think that he was right, then he's clear. I cannot get away with that and shoot you and say, well, I thought he's going to do something. They say, buddy, that doesn't work. Well, now, we presume that these officers are trained to show how little their training means and how they hide behind it. Some guy out east was fired because he was dealing with a guy who had a mental problem and wound up, he was on duty, shot the guy 14 times, and he was fired. Now he's trying to get his job back. And you know what the lawyers are arguing? And he's justified in view of the not finding any fault in what these cops are doing. He said, yes, he shot the man 14 times, but it was within his training. So now, if the police are trained to shoot somebody in the back, then the cop who shoots in the back says it was pursuant to my training and he's home free. That's what's happening. I would tell young people, if you tell somebody to go across the world to fight for ISIS, they can put you in jail. If you just talk about it. If you want to fight injustice, you don't have to go around the world to find the ISIS mentality. Your ISIS is in America. And you're likely to die over there one way or the other. So if you're going to die making your home safe. My home is not threatened by ISIS. Mine is threatened by the police. The police are licensed to kill us. Children, old people. They showed a guy on a highway, the highway trooper, he had this elderly black woman down on the ground just beating the stew out of her. And nothing was done to him. That's what I see. Now suppose somebody told me somebody from ISIS did that. Then everybody's up in arms. See what cowards they are? They beat women in broad daylight. But when a cop does it, it's all right. I don't feel that way. And if I were going to do something, but I'm not a man of violence, I wouldn't go to Syria. I wouldn't go to Iraq. I wouldn't go to Afghanistan. I wouldn't go to Yemen. I wouldn't go to Tunisia. I wouldn't go to Lebanon. I wouldn't go to Jordan. I would do it right here. Nobody from ISIS ever terrorized us as a people as the police do daily. And they get away with it. And they've been given the license now. And people don't like me to say this, then you rein in your cops. And you know what they say? The racism of the cops is merely reflective of the racism in this society. And they accept the existence of racism to excuse the cop. But then when I say there's racism in the society, they say, you're playing the race card. You're talking about it makes it happen. But when they want to justify the cop, they say he's merely reflective of the community where there is white racism. And that's what I look. You don't have to deal with that. You're privileged. You're free of that. You don't have to think about it every day. If I was going to carry a weapon, it wouldn't be against you. It wouldn't be against these people who come here that I might have a dispute with. Mine would be for the police. And if I carried a gun, I'd want to shoot him first and then ask questions later, like they say the cop ought to do. Senator, could I get away with it? You know I couldn't get away with it. They better hope I never lose my mind and find out that I'm on my way out of here.
Senator, I think the situations that you've described, I think each and every one of us is outraged by that kind of thing.
I don't think so.
I honestly, in my heart, believe that. The vast majority of law enforcement is such a difficult job, and the vast majority of those officers do a great job, I feel. And I've known so many, I've had family members that have tried to get in law enforcement in various states, and the psychological screening that they have to go through is pretty intense. That doesn't mean that some people don't slip through.
I respect the State Patrol. The State Patrol, that these men that I respect because I get a chance to know them. I used to say the State Patrol is the flagship of law enforcement. They recruited a cop who was found guilty by the Internal Affairs Department of Lincoln Police Department. They found him guilty of excessive force. He had a man handcuffed and knocked him against the wall, left blood, and they found him guilty, and the State Patrol recruited him. And he's going to graduate in May and be on the State Patrol. That's showing how low their standards are. He was found to have done wrong by a police agency, and the police were notified by jail employees, and they used the video. They felt it was excessive, and they see cops doing the wrong thing all the time. So when you tell me about psychological screening, they must screen them to make sure that they can commit violence against unarmed people and not be troubled by it. The State Patrol recruited him. Lancaster County Sheriff Wagner hired the other one. Both of them off LPD. Both found guilty of use of excessive force. And they were hired by other law enforcement agencies knowing that. And then you're going to tell me about the psychological screening and the training. Those are the words that are said, but they mean nothing. If I have to designate an enemy of mine in this society, it's the police.
Honestly, Senator Chambers, I believe in my heart that we have law enforcement in every community in the nation, and the vast majority. My wife and I, our best friend in the world is a retired New York City cop, and I know what he's gone through. The first time he was involved in a shooting and he killed someone in a shooting. You talk about PTSD. I mean, these are the vast majority. I know in my heart that the vast majority of law enforcement officers are there to uphold the laws and to treat people with respect and dignity. There's always going to be a bad apple that slips through, and I'm convinced that they're a minority.
Okay.